because Rachel Zegler in the aftermath, we know all these things that went down behind the scenes. The protections Disney put in place to make sure she didn't put her foot in her mouth once again.
In a stunning twist that could only happen in Hollywood, a story that began with a fairy tale has morphed into a full-blown legal and PR nightmare. What was once positioned as Disney's next great reimagining of a beloved animated classic has now unraveled into chaos, controversy, and lawsuits. The House of Mouse has just taken a bold, almost unthinkable step, filing a massive lawsuit against its own lead actress, Rachel Zegler, demanding a jaw-dropping $200 million in damages. The reason? What Disney is now calling a Snow White refund.
Literally the only person there. And do you not understand how humiliating this is?
Yes, you heard that right. Disney is suing the very star they handpicked to lead their modern-day retelling of Snow White. The fallout from this decision is sending shockwaves through the entertainment industry and raising critical questions about artistic responsibility, studio image control, and the increasingly thin line between personal opinion and professional obligations. Let's break it all down. Let's rewind. The announcement of a live-action Snow White remake was supposed to be a guaranteed win.
That means Snow White is destined to be one of the biggest bombs in Disney history. It will not recoup.
Disney had already struck gold by reimagining classics like The Jungle Book, Cinderella, and The Lion King, all of which pulled in major profits while tapping into generational nostalgia. Expectations were sky high. After all, this wasn't just any fairy tale. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was Disney's first animated feature, a cornerstone of cinematic history.
But also in a Marvel movie that's upcoming, not to mention the entire Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars saga, he's also going to be a big part of that.
They cast Rachel Zegler, who had just gained major attention for her breakout role in West Side Story, and added superstar Gal Gadot as the evil queen. With two powerful actresses, a reimagined story, and the backing of Disney's billion-dollar marketing machine, what could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. From the start, Rachel Zegler's relationship with the film was rocky, at best.
And also, now that we have the second weekend box office numbers, we know that yes, indeed, Snow White is a historic flop for Disney. The biggest live-action conversion, or animated to live-action conversion, the worst flop that they've ever seen.
Even before Snow White hit theaters, Zegler made headlines for a series of interviews and public statements that quickly sparked backlash. In one viral moment, she called the 1937 original weird, dismissing it as outdated, and even suggesting that the prince was essentially a stalker. She claimed that the new version would fix those issues by focusing more on independence and female empowerment,
bringing the total to just $87.3 million, with a budget of around $209 million.
While many applauded the sentiment, others saw it as tone-deaf, especially coming from the lead actress in a legacy remake. Worse still, she publicly mocked the original's love story, made comments perceived as dismissive toward fans of the classic, and took overt political stances that further polarized public opinion. Some of her statements included telling certain political groups she didn't want their support or ticket money, comments that Disney now claims directly alienated core audience demographics. Insiders now say that tensions between Zegler and Disney executives began months before the film's release. The studio had reportedly provided strict guidelines on how the cast should present the film in interviews.
We'll be lucky to get too far past $200 million at the box office. Right now it's on pace to lose Disney nearly $300 million.
Emphasizing optimism, nostalgia, and family values. But Zegler's promotional appearances frequently veered in the opposite direction, generating controversy after controversy. According to internal sources, studio executives were blindsided by her remarks. What they had envisioned as a family-friendly blockbuster was quickly becoming a social media war zone. Damage control teams were deployed, PR specialists brought in, and private meetings were held in an attempt to get things back on track. But it was too late. The controversy only escalated.
It was supposed to come out like a year and a half ago. And then we went after them so hard because of their variety of ridiculous sins that they actually went into full-scale reshoots on Snow White when we announced that we had a competitor.
When Snow White finally hit theaters, the result was catastrophic. Despite Disney investing approximately $370 million into production and marketing, the film barely made a dent at the box office. It opened to a disappointing $43 million, with an even more painful 66% drop in its second weekend, eventually crawling to a meager $142.8 million worldwide. That's not just a flop. That's a financial disaster.
But another Disney star, who said very controversial things in the past, apparently supports Rachel Zegler, the very same man who is starring not only in a Star Wars movie that's upcoming.
Analysts estimate the film could lose over $100 million, and that's after global ticket sales. To make matters worse, online platforms like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes saw the film receive some of the lowest user scores in Disney's modern history. Videos and memes of empty theaters went viral. The term Snow White refund began circulating, initially as a joke. Now it's a lawsuit. According to legal documents obtained by entertainment insiders, Disney is suing Rachel Zegler for breach of contract.
As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public.
Reputational damage and failure to meet promotional obligations. The lawsuit alleges that Zegler's unauthorized interviews and statements contributed directly to negative public sentiment and press coverage. Her refusal to follow approved messaging guidelines irreparably tarnished the film's marketability. She actively sabotaged the project's success by alienating target audiences and encouraging controversy. Her social media behavior and repeated mockery of the original film created a hostile environment that made promotional efforts nearly impossible.
With the movie star Rachel Zegler, who I believe would be categorized as a loudmouth dope.
The lawsuit seeks $200 million in damages, which Disney claims reflects both the projected losses and the irreversible damage to the Snow White brand. This marks an unprecedented move by a major studio, suing its lead actress after a movie has already been released. The entertainment world has reacted with shock, confusion, and fierce debate. Some industry veterans say Disney's move sets a dangerous precedent, one that could have a chilling effect on actors' freedom to express opinions or engage with their fan bases authentically.
Behind the scenes, you guys know as well as I do that those executives like Spielberg are looking at that, saying, Rachel Zegler can F right off.
Others argue that Zegler's behavior was unprofessional, reckless, and directly harmful to the project, and that Disney, as the financier and rights holder, has every right to protect its brand. One anonymous executive was quoted as saying, "This wasn't just a case of bad press. This was the lead actress lighting a match and walking away while the castle burned." Meanwhile, fans are deeply divided.
Rachel Zegler, who stars as Snow White, condemned Prince Charming as weird and a stalker, adding that she hates the original. Nice start. Leaked photos from a set revealed that the seven dwarves had been sensationally axed, replaced by multiracial, gender non-specific, magical humans.
Some support Rachel, saying she was simply being honest about a story that needed updating. Others believe she disrespected the legacy, alienated viewers, and ultimately tanked the film herself. So where does this leave Rachel Zegler? Rumors are swirling that she's already been dropped from several upcoming projects, including a major voice role in Toy Story 5 and a reboot of Pirates of the Caribbean. Studios appear to be distancing themselves, fearful of bringing on talent seen as unpredictable or divisive. Zegler, for her part, has remained relatively quiet since the lawsuit surfaced.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
Her last few social media posts were vague, speaking about artistic growth, learning experiences, and embracing difficult lessons. But sources say her team is preparing for a legal counterattack, possibly framing Disney's lawsuit as a form of corporate scapegoating, punishing her for a project that failed due to internal mismanagement. Not her words. Many analysts say this whole mess speaks to a larger issue within Disney itself.
So the reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole. That's number one.
A company currently undergoing an identity crisis. In recent years, Disney has struggled to balance legacy nostalgia with modern messaging. While some reboots, The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty, and the Beast, raked in profits, others have flopped amid claims of being too political, too reimagined, or simply unnecessary.
I know, she's dumb. She's young and she's dumb. But maybe she'll learn. You know what? Whatever I called her, it worked. She's had a long history of saying woke, annoying things. Our new Snow White.
Snow White was supposed to be the bridge between old and new. Instead, it's become a cautionary tale for studios walking the fine line between reinvention and rejection. The lawsuit is as much about corporate image as it is about dollars. This situation is, in many ways, historic. Never before has a major studio filed such an aggressive lawsuit against its own star after a film's release. Whether Disney is justified or Rachel Zegler is being unfairly targeted remains to be seen. The courtroom will eventually decide that. But one thing is clear. This entire saga is a powerful reminder that in the age of viral media, fan scrutiny, and billion-dollar franchises,
far below projections. Internationally, a similar story. Overseas, Snow White took in $44.3 million in its opening weekend.
every word matters. What was supposed to be a fairy tale revival has turned into a real-life tragedy. And now, the entertainment industry is watching closely to see whether this ends with a settlement, a trial, or the end of Rachel Zegler's Hollywood dream. Because in the land of movie magic, not every story ends with happily ever after.